Welcome to a football show. Paul Kuharsky, Braden, Gall, brought to you by Sinkers Beverages here on the 440 Sports Network. Good to see you back and better than ever. We're only a couple of weeks away from training camp. PK, how are you?
I'm well. How you doing?
I'm great. I'm like, can you go through pre-withdrawals from a sporting event?
I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, the rhythm slows down. There are only three games left. You try to savor it while there are 4 games a day. But the rhythm is totally different. And you and I were just talking about kind of watching quarters there and behind time because our kids had games and stuff. But yeah, it's been great. But now, a couple good games left, but not the same.
Yeah, absolutely. Afternoon, fellas, says Mike's. Good to see you. Perfect timing. I was looking forward to something new to listen to. Yep, we're back. We're back. Training camp a couple of weeks away. We are going to talk World Cup here at the start just to kind of have some fun here, but we will get into I asked PK to just what are the things, like this is how I did the exercise. When I walk out onto the field on the first day of training camp, what's the list of questions that I want to try to find answers to over the course of training camp that we know we're not going to really answer until we actually get into games, but like that are the things we feel like we are looking for, that we are seeking from this roster, from training camp, from practices, as we gain knowledge, new players, new formations, new coaching staff. So that's kind of how we're going to go back and forth and kind of ask questions that we are looking for answers to as far as training camp goes. So that's kind of how we're going to start our training camp preview. We got a couple of weeks to do that, but we're going to start that today. But we do have a Final Four for the World Cup, and I am very there was no games yesterday and no games today, and my wife looks at me this morning. She's like, "Are you going to be okay?" I was like, "Oh, there's only 2 left," and it works out great that my kids actually have an early, they're at Belmont soccer camp this week, so they get to come home at 1:30. So it actually works out well that we can watch the matches together on Tuesday and Wednesday. But for most of America, I'm assuming they're pretty frustrated that 2 of the most premier World Cup matches that we can ever get in semifinals, Spain and France tomorrow, and England and Argentina, that. Fox and FIFA are ecstatic about those 4 brands being in the Final Four. But I'm curious about TV ratings. It'll be interesting to see because 2 o'clock is hard for a lot of people on a Wednesday and a Tuesday to get home and watch. So,
I mean, I guess they put them in the afternoon to accommodate the world.
Yeah. Europe.
But I think you'd be a little selfish and put them in the evening. Also.
Well, it's 9 p.m. I think London and Portugal. It's 10 p.m. Barcelona, Paris, and then it's 11 p.m. into Munich and Italy, into Germany and Italy. So, but they're gonna watch. It's Spain and it's 3 European countries. They're gonna watch if you put it at midnight. So
I mean, we're U.S. diehards. I remember watching U.S. Portugal. I think I was in Memphis for the Lewis Tyson fight, maybe, and I found a bar somewhere there and watched at 2 o'clock in the morning. They're not exactly accommodating U.S. audience, which I know is not as passionate as a European football audience, but whatever time you're playing, if your team's in the semifinal of a World Cup,
you're watching.
You're up and you're watching. So I don't know. It suits our schedules because it's not the middle of football season, but
and we work from home.
Yeah.
No, it'll be great. It's funny. Saturday, you and I were both talking before the show. I've gotten very good at this where I can turn the phone on airplane or do not disturb, or, while I'm at my daughter's soccer stuff, there's a bunch of, both my kids had 3-on-3 tournaments in White House, which is up near Greenbrier, and it had poured down rain. So we had a 45-minute delay. And so we got into the truck and watched some of the first half of the Norway match. But my daughter's last match wasn't until 10 because of the delay. So we didn't get home till 11. Maybe later than that. We get him into bed, and I sit down and watch the whole second half of the England-Norway match. I did not know what happened, but I've gotten pretty good. You got to really work.
Really work.
You got to it's so instinctual to open up social media apps, and you just got to be nope, not doing it. Not doing it.
I had the same thing. I worked to turn off notifications, and one I did not turn off. My 2 football notifications are Schefter and Wyatt. And I did not turn off Schefter. And I really resent this. Adam Schefter thinks he is world news tonight and needs to tweet about everything. I mean, he tweets world news and everything. Why does he feel compelled to tweet World Cup results? And so I got England survives Norway from Adam Schefter after I turned off all my soccer notifications. But it's still very compelling because I didn't know how it happened or whatever.
You love that guy.
Glennon and I go back and forth at this, like U.S. soccer, smaller stuff. We finally have an agreement, like no texting unless you know the other guy has seen it. But still, sometimes he'll be like, "Whoa," and I'll be like, "Come on."
Oh,
he's like, "Well, you don't know what the whoa meant."
It could be great. It could be terrible.
Right.
We do that with so there's my brother, my dad, my uncle, and my cousin, who are like the 6 of us who go to Packers games every year. And we will let people know at like 30 minutes before the game starts, hey, I'm not in real time. I'm watching later, or I'm like we will let people know, like, hey, I'm silencing the notifications. I'm turning on. I'm do not disturbing. So anyway, we got. Do you have
impossible though with any sport event to do that?
How about this one?
Which is why sports still has such a handle. It's the one thing you got to watch live.
I did this one. This is now we're down a rabbit hole here. I had to wait for my daughters because they wanted to watch the Arsenal PSG Champions League final. And so I had to wait for one of them to get back from like a birthday party. And the other one had to go get her ears pierced. And so I had like 2 hours to kill. And I was like, oh my God, I had to literally turn off like 3 group chats. Nashville Arsenal fever pitch chapter. I had to turn off the group chat or whatever. And I figured out how to do it. I've gotten pretty good at it. You got to be very diligent. You got to put the phone away. It's healthier for you. There's that as well. Anyway, no, I'm just curious. Do you have one you're rooting for in terms of these 4 teams? I know you're a huge fan.
I'm rooting for England.
Okay.
And Reece James didn't look very good when he came on the field. That's my number one guy. And I'm a Thomas Tuchel guy. He took Chelsea to a Champions League title. So I really like and respect him. But I just root for England with the Premier League connections.
I agree.
And their story is a great one, that they come close and generally fall short. I think they can beat Argentina, though I think it'll be very difficult. I don't think they can beat France. I think France is definite favorite out of these 4.
I mean, France is unstoppable. So.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for
England, France, but I'd really like to see England, Spain, because I think England can beat Spain. I've got a good friend who grew up in Spain, who's a Spain fanatic, and I feel a little bit like for him.
My first ever European soccer match was a Barca match last October. So Spain has always been I love London and I love Spain. So I would love to see an England-Spain matchup just personally. But the truth is that any of the 3 or 4 combinations would be fantastic. Any of the combinations would give us hopefully an elite final. We got 4 elite clubs. Cinderella is dead, guys, just like in the NCAA basketball tournament. We love Cinderella in the round of 32 and 16 and Sweet 16, the Elite 8. But the TV ratings for these matches, and I think for the final, will be enormous.
Too many premier teams too.
Yeah,
I mean, it could have been 3 or 4 other ones that were in there that you would have said the same thing. Yeah. I like that from Jordan Pace about how Rappaport does the same thing, but he finds an NFL connection.
He says, quote, Lindsey Graham, who was a Carolina Panthers fan, has died. We should not laugh at the passing of a senator. Let's see here. Brock says, I don't care about soccer. So we will be discussing Titans for the next 50 minutes here. So just
this is more big event talk.
That's right. That's right. Dustin says we were in New York 2 weeks ago and fans were watching and cheering everywhere virtually around the clock. It was contagious. Absolutely.
I had friends in New York
Italy great again.
that were trying to find a table at a restaurant for 10 of them. My whole gang was together. I was the only one missing. And they couldn't find anywhere to really gather. It was just such a event.
Crowded,
to watch a game.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're all rooting against France. I feel like, except for my oldest daughter, she just loves France because she likes front runners. she hasn't learned. My little daughter,
because they're so good. I hope the final is at the caliber of the final last time, which is very rare. That both teams were really going for it and not playing safe.
Well, that was one of the greatest soccer matches ever played. I mean, those two, Argentina and France in 22 in Qatar. Again, my what's funny about my kids is that they're like my oldest almost always, and this is really more of a sports commentary. She almost always will, as she's watching games, she'll just be like, okay, I'm rooting for so-and-so. And it's almost always the team that's winning. Like, and now she's gotten around to my line of thinking, which is I'll be like, who are you rooting for? She's like, I just want to see a good game. I'm like, there we go. That's where we're at. And so she's like, yeah, I was like, who are you guys rooting for? There was a couple other kids. We were dropping them off at the carpool. A couple other kids in the car. Who are we rooting for, guys? And everybody goes around the car. And my oldest is like, probably France. And my youngest one immediately goes, you're just rooting for them because because they're so good and you think they're gonna win. Like she's already counterculture. She's already like, no, I'm rooting for Cape Verde, Dad. she's counter. All right, Sinkers Beverages, everybody. There is a really awesome party coming up at the end of the summer. It's coming up here in a couple of weeks, actually. Tomato Fest. I was going to say Oktoberfest. Tomato Fest is coming up very shortly. It's in August. It is in East Nashville. It is one of our favorite times and favorite festivals that we have in this year part of the in this year part of the city. But there's going to be a fantastic Sinkers, and get this, PK. It is the second annual 40th birthday party. To celebrate Sinkers on August 8th at 6:30. There's going to be 3 different bands. Tickets are going to be $15 in advance. I will post the link in the show notes. It's going to be a great time. We're going to have lots of 440 kind of crossover going on with this. We're all going to hang out and have a good time. So we'd love to see you guys. Love to have you. It's to celebrate a great cause, and we're all going to be out there at Tomato Fest anyway. So you might as well come on out. I'll link the details in the show notes. It'll be at Basement East, and it's going to be a ton of fun. So come on out to the Sinkers Beverages second annual 40th birthday party, which I am now, since I had a birthday last week, it was my 5th annual 39th birthday. That's what I think I'm going. I'm going to go with that from now on.
Belated happy birthday. Sorry I missed that.
No, it's okay. Okay, let's get to the Titans here. Now, I'll let you go first. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back and forth. We're going to kind of discuss what we're looking for. But this is how I thought about this. We're all going to walk out there. And I know you kind of go out to training camp with eyes on a lot of specific stories. You maybe are working on an angle. Maybe you talk to somebody. Maybe you have a tip on an idea over here, or you just have a bunch of stuff bouncing around. But if you were just a fan going out there going, man, I got to figure out if we're going to be any good this year. How many games are we going to win? What's going to matter the most in terms of wins and losses? And I just wrote down a bunch of questions that I am going to go seek out the answers to over the course of training camp. And that's what I want to do today, is bounce back and forth as we look at the Titans. There's no restrictions or rules on this. It can be about the coach. It can be about the stadium, the front office, the logos, the uniforms, the players, the team. But I wanted you to get started. So we'll go back and forth here. You got the honors.
Well, what do we say about Cam? We're going to leave Cam. Let's leave Cam till the end.
That's fair. We can do that.
Let's leave Cam till the end. So just going kind of off the top of my head, I didn't make a list. 16 padded practices are going to determine what goes on the offensive line. That is not a lot. You need guys not to roll an ankle or miss a day. Part of the reason Kevin Zeitler isn't back is because he's a guy that needed veteran days, needed time, and they wanted to be younger and to have guys out there who are all working together, working with the quarterback, working with the run game, all of that. So that's a big one. Those 16 padded practices, not just the team periods, but the 9-on-7 run game work and the 1-on-1 pass protection drills. 3 of those padded practices are going to be joint practice in San Francisco, joint practice against Seattle here, joint practice against Chicago here. Those are really heightened value. And they said there's only so much you can learn about guys. There's only so much they can do in what they did in the spring. And that's well known, but 16 is not a lot. That's not a great deal of work compared to what you got in the old days with 2-a-days and all of that. And so those guys are going to have to really show stuff during those 16 days to get that stuff sorted out. Not to mention, JC Latham, who's going to be at right tackle no matter what, but showing the gains that he's made and winning the kind of faith that they need to have in him and all of that. So that's one of my big things. Yeah. 16 days for offensive line to do most of its sorting. And I guess we could raise that to 19 days, counting the 3 games where those guys should get some significant time.
Well, and the first thing that came to mind. So my question, the one I wrote down about there's two I wrote down about the offensive line, and that my first one is who is J.C. Latham? Like, is he going to be a great player? Is he going to be a bad player? Is he going to lose his job? The truth is probably in the middle. He's probably going to be an above-average offensive tackle. The question is, how good can he be? What's interesting is the first thing I thought of when you said that was I don't think outside of the joint practices where you get some actual like one-on-one work or teamwork with someone else who's trying to like really whip your ass. I don't think we're going to know the answers to those more specific offensive line questions until we get to the preseason games and the actual season. So the key is really growth and progress and development. And it's going to be really hard for us and for fans who get to attend to actually understand or know if it's actually happening or not. That's what makes that one so weird is we're all going to be out there studying and we're not – what's the – outside of the joint practices, what is the most indicative – what's the point of the training camp where you learn actual reality about the blockers? Does that question make sense?
Yeah. I don't think they'll come out and say it. I think that's fair. They're not going to say, boy, Volson's great, or boy, Volson's really not getting it done. So I think from our vantage point as non-offensive line experts, we're only going to see it if somebody's really good, really consistently, or really bad, really consistently. If we could come out and say, you know what, the two rookies, and I have this feeling already, the two rookies don't really have a chance. So if Coogan and Carmona are regularly really low on the depth chart and are losing to low-ranking interior defensive linemen, we could set them aside relatively quickly. It doesn't look like they're in it. That I would expect we will be able to conclude.
Could go the other direction to your point. Like,
they're Coogan, in it more than we expect.
Yeah, if Coogan all of a sudden is, one guy gets an ankle and he steps out for a couple plays and Coogan's the first center in or whatever, I'm with you. I don't think that's going to happen, but it's possible.
But I agree with you. It's probably hazier longer than we need to know. Maybe at right guard. I think Schlotman is going to probably be the center. I mean, I'm going to be surprised if he's not, unless something happens to him. So,
to me, the who is J.C. Latham of it all. It's not because he's I guess it's partially because of where he got drafted, but it's more that I think I know what Dan Moore is. I don't have my expectations aren't too high for him. They are what they are, and if he over exceeds those expectations, then great.
You know what Peter is.
I know what Skoronski is. I think I know what Schlotman's going to be. I think he's probably a league average center to slightly below league average, serviceable. There is a giant question at right guard, and I think it'll be interesting to see who wins that position and what's the rotation. And, with the two rookies in there, that's going to be a fun thing to keep an eye on. But I think the one that actually matters to the season win-loss total is going to be J.C. Latham. Does he come in to training camp? And this is something we will be able to tell, right? Like, I'll never forget. I think we came on the air after 2 days of practice last year, and my question to you was, is this a different Jeffrey Simmons? Turns out it was a very different Jeffrey Simmons. Physically, mentally, he was different. I thought I picked up on that right away, and it was true. So the question is like, do we see a similar type of transformation to some degree from J.C. Latham? Whether it's mental, whether it's physical, who knows what it is. But he has the ability to be, I would say, like a top 10 right tackle in the league. I don't think he's ever going to be top 3, but if he's at his best, he could be a 5th, 6th, 7th best right tackle in the NFL. He's got the talent to do that. And if that happens, that answers a lot more questions for Cam Ward, for the running game, for the offensive line. So I think it's mostly about Latham because I think we know what the situation is, I think, at the other 4 spots, for better or for worse.
I think your Latham question is a really good one too, because there's a little bit of a dichotomy with him, right? He came in last offseason having lost a lot of weight. Everybody said that was really his impetus. Like, he identified that before anybody said anything to him. Like, right after the season was over at his end of season meeting, he said, I got to play thinner. I got to get down. I can be a lot better, thinner, all of that. But then during the season when guys like Simmons and even Arden Key, not the best example, but we're saying some of these young guys aren't buying in. They're not listening to the veterans and all of that. We all knew that one of the guys they were talking about was J.C. Latham. So we've seen a serious example of him doing things the right way, kind of self-aware on the weight thing. But we've also seen his teammates indicting him. I think it was a very safe presumption that one of the guys they were talking about was J.C. Latham. So which way does he go here on the maturation scale? Is he going to take it very seriously and do the right things and buy into Carmen Brasillo and Brian Dable? Or when things go rough, is he going to kind of push back? Crucial crossroads for him on that. And that's where that goes a long way towards determining what you're talking about. Is he going to be a top 10 right tackle, or is he going to be average right tackle? And that tells us a ton about the investment they've made in that spot.
Yeah, I think it is one of the biggest questions going into camp, and I'm not even sure we can learn the answer until real games. And so it's just going to be one of these conversations we're going to probably have throughout the course of the entire thing. You know, I'm assuming no one will overreact to anything they see on a training camp practice field. I'm assuming. All right, what's next for you?
Go Forth is asking here about Andre James. Look, Andre James is a journeyman who's had some starts and stuff. Schlottman has upside. Andre James, we know what he is. If they wind up with James starting, that's a problem.
Yeah, well,
he's a better backup. He should be like the Corey Levin kind of backup who could give you a couple good starts if you need, but you hope he's not in the line.
Well, and Schlottman has not started a ton. Volson's the one who has started 48 times. Like, I would be surprised if Volson is not the starting right guard, but we'll see. All right, what's the next question for you? What else you got here? I got a bunch, so you keep going.
Well, I wrote about him on Friday. Femi Oladejo. Femi Oladejo is the first defensive pick for Mike Borgonzi. He is a second-round pick who they drafted. I think it makes some of us uncomfortable as a bit of a project, maybe more than a bit of a project. And with a second-round pick in your first draft, you need an impact guy. And he came in as not an impact guy. Then he got hurt. Too many people throwing out Kevin Dodd already. It's too early. But you got 6 games out of him in a position change, right? He only played 10 games as a pass rusher at UCLA. Then he came in, he only played 6 games as a pass rusher. So he moved from off the ball to on the ball in a 4-3. And now he's on the ball in a 3-4. So his role has been condensed from in space to in a little space to in no space. Now, I reported that he missed all of this springtime with a hamstring injury. Could have been worse, but not great. So he missed last season all of this time. Now he missed all of the spring and summer, which is far from ideal when you missed your rookie season and you're changing position the second time in 3 years. What is Femi Oladejo going to be? He needs to be one of their top 4 ends, right? You got Jermaine Johnson. You got Falk, we presume, in their best set. Those are 2 ends in a 4-3 now. And then Jacob Martin. But he needs to be at least the 4th guy, Femi Oladejo, and he needs to show promise. If you get through this year and he still feels duddish, that is a big, bad development for the Titans. And it's time for him. He is going to be healthy at the start of camp. He will be on the field on July 29th or whatever the first day of practice is. It's time for Femi Oladejo to get going and to show us that he can be what the Titans thought he could be when they drafted him and what Robert Saleh thought, even scouting him as a 4-3 end.
I wrote mine's along those lines. One of the first ones I wrote down, and I think it's one of the top 2 or 3 on my list of things that I am very intrigued to find out. And that is the specifics of my question were how many snaps are the second-year defensive players going to contribute to the defense? And that's Marcus Harris, that's Kevin Winston, and that's Femi Oladejo. Femi Oladejo, I think, primarily, and the question is sort of really like it's more about just availability. What is your availability? Winston and Femi both missing time last year for different reasons. Marcus Harris appears to be earmarked for a ton of snaps. So the question is just like, what percentage of the defense is running through these three guys, and how available are they? So Harold Landry only played 60% of the snaps his first season, and he played all but one game. He then proceeded to play 16 games, which was every one, 17 games. Then he missed an entire season, and then he went 17-17 for Tennessee. He played every single game 5 out of 6 years, the lone exception being a glaring hole where he missed everything with the torn ACL. 3 9-sack seasons for him, and I think setting the bar at somewhere around Harold Landry for the 52nd, I think, overall pick is exactly what the bar should be. Yeah, I'm not looking at you to be an 18-sack guy. That's not what you draft in the second round. But an 8 to 10-sack guy in the top 50-ish, I think that's absolutely what you can expect. So the question is how available is he, which is what you're saying. I went back and looked at Amani Hooker. He's missed 8 games in the last 3 seasons, which I think is since Kevin Byard has been gone. So since he's been sort of the main safety, he's missed 8 games. He missed 4 3 years ago, and then he missed 3 games, and then last year only missed 1. He played 92% of the snaps last year in the games that he played outside of the 1 game that he missed. So is Kevin Winston a 92% of the snaps kind of guy?
Well, safeties aren't coming out of the game unless you're a nickel safety.
Right.
It's different.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like
Winston healthy, he's playing those snaps, yes.
And that's what I'm saying. So Hooker gets you to Hooker at 92% of the snaps. I think asking if Kevin Winston can play 85% of the snaps is probably fair. I think that's what you're looking for out of him. And then I think Harris is really interesting. So I went to Logan Ryan, and maybe you have a better example of who to go to. But when I think of like a premier slot player, it's 2019 Logan Ryan, which was his last year here. He was here 17, 18, 19. He played 1,099 snaps on defense, which is 99.1% of the snaps. And I believe most of that season he was moving around, but a lot of slot, a lot of safety.
He was outside if they had 2 corners on the field.
Right. He was kind of everywhere. And I just think of him as like the jack of all trades, kind of do everything guy. But that's a guy who was on the field literally every single snap of the defense that year. So where's Marcus Harris in that role? And moving around probably in a similar fashion depending on the formation. So to me, it's Femi, Winston, and Harris together as a group. What is their availability? 2 guys have been injured. 1 guy was a late pick in the 6th round that people didn't expect to be this big of a contributor. Now maybe he is. I think those 3 guys, they're going to decide a lot about the defense. And if they are every single day in practice, every single day running with the ones, that's a really big step and a really big sign for the Titans defense moving forward.
Well, I'd answer your question back to front. So I would expect Winston all the time, provided he's healthy. Harris, 75%, because there'll be some big nickel and because there'll be some 2 corner, there'll be some base. And then, Oladejo is part of this rotation where he's not going to be the guy they want the most in the 70% of the snap guy. He's going to be a 50% of the snap guy in that rotation. And it has come together the way we thought. I still don't love it that in the 2nd round of last year, you're drafting a 2nd level rotation end or edge. And then the next year you're coming back and drafting the guy in front of him in Falk. I would like you to be getting 2 starters there. And maybe if things go great next year, those are your 2 starters, Falk and Oladejo. But I don't think many of us are expecting that. Jermaine Jones either gets re-signed or John Franklin Myers is playing outside a lot in the 2nd year of his contract. Who knows? But if Femi Oladejo is one of your 4 best defensive linemen in 2027, then things will have panned out marvelously. I don't think most of us are seeing that track. We'll find out. But
can I ask you about a benchmark?
Falk is the bigger question in terms of Falk has the bigger expectation automatically.
Here's what, if I told you that Femi Oladejo had 44 tackles, 4.5 sacks, he played 15 games, started a handful, 14 quarterback hits, a handful of tackles for loss. What would you like ballpark? How do you feel about that season?
Sounds like a good 4th-round pick to me.
That was Harold Landry's first season in the NFL.
Okay,
that was his first full season.
What was his second?
Well, I'm counting this as Femi's kind of his first full season.
No,
to some degree.
I know, but then what was Harold? What did Harold do in his second full season?
60 started every single game, 16 games, 68 tackles, 9 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, 12 tackles for loss. He stepped it up about 30-40%.
If you get that out of Femi next year, then okay, then his rookie year was a wash, and that sucks.
Sometimes that happens.
But I think people will have – it will be hard for Titans fans to watch him do this year, do that this year, Harold's first year this year, and not talk bust, which is too harsh. But people are already talking bust for him, which is way too hard.
So Landry played 86% of the snaps his second season. So he was on the field almost all the time.
How many his first season?
The reason I like the first season as a comp is it's not only the first season potentially, but he played 60% of the snaps, which is about where a starting defensive lineman will function in Robert Saleh's. At least that's what he's saying.
Yeah, I don't think that Femi will play 60% of the snaps.
No, I don't think so either. But I think that's
under 50 probably.
Probably, but what I'm saying is if he gets to 45 tackles, 5 sacks, and 60% of the snaps, which is what Landry did in his first season in 15 games, only started 3 times, I think that is a successful, massive step forward. Even if, to your point, fans are going to look at that and be disappointed because they think, oh, he should have been better earlier. But I think it's a huge step forward and a potential sign to year 3, sign of what's going to come in year 3. Year 3 being the year that then decides if it's actually a bust or not. Because if he regresses to his first year, then it's a bust. If he takes a third step and he gets even better, then it was the right pick. So
lost rookie years just suck.
Yeah,
they just suck.
All right. Sergeant Bubbles says, with the talks of the DL rotation this season, I think the Titans can get 3 to 4 guys with 6 to 8 sacks, and that will be solid. I think that's what they're trying to do. Franklin Myers with 5 or 6, Simmons with 8. Femi has 3 or 4, and then you mix in Jermaine Johnson with 7 or 8, and that's I think that's the goal. I mean, that's the plan right now. So.
I'm fine with interior combinations like that. I think on the edge you need to draw somebody's attention with a singular force, and edge by committee. I don't know.
Before we move on, Sinkers Beverages, of course, party on August 8th coming up. Tomato Fest, Basement East, 3 bands. The second annual 40th birthday party for Sinkers. It's going to be happening. It's going to be a lot of fun. Tickets are only $15 in advance. We're going to have a great time. They're going to be the link is in the show notes, so make sure you check that out both on YouTube and on the podcast app of choice, and also linked in the show notes. PressForwardMidTN.news. The Press Forward News Survey. We still need your input. We still need your help if you care about having good quality information provided to you in Middle Tennessee. Please check out the survey. It's 5 minutes. It's anonymous. It won't take any of your time, but it's very, very helpful. So please check it out. Linked in the show notes on YouTube and on the podcast app of choice. All right, what's next?
I would go to receiver here. We're very optimistic about the wide receiver position. And I think from the Carnell Tate perspective and even the Wan'Dale Robinson perspective, reasonably so. But maybe too high on DK off of one season, maybe too high on Iomanner making a jump. Are we overrating the depth? Let's go back to 2021. Marcus Johnson, Chester Rogers, tremendous preseasons. And look, we reported on what went on at the time. They looked like they were going to be good going into this season with those guys as depth. And then Marcus Johnson got hurt right away, which was Marcus Johnson's MO coming in, why he was available to the Titans. Chester Rogers, I believe, had 8 catches and did some punt returning. Are these guys what they look like? Some guys come in, and you hope this is the case for DK, and have, build on their rookie years. And some guys come in their sophomore seasons, teams have figured them out and they fade. So Calvin Ridley, we've talked a lot about. Does he bounce back from this injury and have a later career resurgence, or is this the beginning of the fade? I've talked repeatedly about having concerns with him as an option route guy because I think mentally he sometimes fades. And every time we get excited about the Titans having a deeper wide receiver core, it goes to shit.
Right away. Right away.
And so are they legitimately as deep as we think they are? Fourth round wide receivers, in their second year, I'm not booking Chim DK and Alec Iomanner as locks to be productive guys who next year are going to push for Ridley's third spot and are locks. This is a test year for me for them.
This is why I like working with you, because my very first number one question on my list, it's a little bit different and it's a little bit broader, but it's basically the same thing. And that is how many, you're a baseball guy. WAR is, you probably like WAR, or know what WAR is, or know how it is. Wins above replacement, right? Like, how much better is this guy at second base than the average second baseman in Major League Baseball? And what I wrote down was, how many starting caliber pass catchers are on this roster? And starting caliber could mean different things. I'm kind of taking it to mean league average or a little bit better, right?
So number's 3.5, right?
Are you an action? But now I'm including all three tight ends. I'm including Gunnar Helm.
Oh, okay.
I'm including Daniel Bellinger. I'm including Jaren Kanak. And technically, I'm going to include kind of like the three running backs too. But I think we know Pollard is clearly a starting caliber player. Spears, I think he is. You don't think he is, and that's fair. Like, I think that's a fair discussion. So if you're, I think people assume Gunnar Helm is an absolutely starting caliber tight end. Do we know that for sure?
Too much hype too early for me.
That's right. Bellinger, really good at what he does, more of a number 2 in a 12 personnel tight end set. Kanak, I really like his skill set, but is he good enough to play in the NFL? We don't know. I'm with you. Like, I think the assumption is that they have 3 to 5 starting pass catchers in the receiving core. And that's assuming Carnell Tate is good, which I agree he will be, but like that's an assumption.
He gets benefit of the doubt. I'm not giving benefit of the doubt to a lot of people, but he gets.
And I think Wan'Dale Robinson gets benefit of the doubt after 90 plus catches, 100 plus catches. I think you're a starting caliber player. Where are you on that WAR? Is still what I think we don't know about literally any of these players. Like Ridley, Tate, Robinson, we think it's 3 clearly. I'm kind of with you. I don't know if Iomanner or DK are starting, but there's going to be movement in that. One of those guys might step up, Tate, or maybe Iomanner, and one of those guys, Ridley, might drop back to being below average in terms of league. His availability certainly isn't. I think there's a lot of assumptions around Helm. I think I'm bullish on Spears. I know you're not. And so, like, how many of these guys are actually are like a net positive in terms of average level of production, right? They're all net positive, but like if you get X
of replacement,
if you get X as an average number 1 tight end in the NFL, is Gunnar Helm a little bit better than that, or is he below that? And that's what I want to know about wide receiver 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, tight end 1, 2, and 3, running backs 1, 2, and 3. I like this group, but I have been wrong about these groups before in the past, to your point.
Well, anybody that's been favorably ranking wide receiver groups historically has been wrong every time.
Right. So I like the sum of the parts being greater than the whole on this. But if you're asking, like, is any one of these tight ends going to be a top 15 tight end in the NFL? I don't think so. But I kind of like the group. So are they good enough to, like, as a trio, create the right position for Brian Daboll's offense? And that's kind of be the question, is like, can they come together and like Power Ranger it and form a tight end that works for Brian? So
I also think, it seems like they, in giving up on Chig, they're saying, all right, we're going to have tight ends that are actually a 2 tight end set will change the defense against us. And we're going to let a better receiving core do more of the receiving. Now that takes us back to, are they good enough? Well, the 3 seem like they should be good enough, though you've got inexperience at the 1 and you've got age coming at the 3. So how good are the 4 and the 5? People are awfully excited about Chim, whose all pro status came not from what he did as a receiver, but what he did as a returner. And Iomanner, who really faded hard after a decent start.
He was
Too many
miscast.
drops,
He was miscast last year for sure.
got tired, got worn down. Now I like their promise, but I need to see.
Yeah, Io Manor being asked after Ridley gets hurt as a rookie to be the number one kind of on the team. That's totally miscasting him, but that's just sort of what happened to most of the team last year. It's interesting. You immediately called Tate the 1 and Ridley the 3 in your analysis there. I would say that if that is how it turns out, that it is Tate 1, Robinson 2, Ridley 3, I think then it's better than we expect. I think that's a really good place for this line. Like that's a really good number 3, Calvin
Well,
Ridley.
Again, the teams discourage that whole look. You know, they don't necessarily label them that way.
Sure.
But I think Tate's got to be the X. And you know, so I'm looking at that X as a.
Well, just like who's the best player? Who's the best player? Like
I think Tate's the best, going to be the best player by the opening day.
I think that's fair too. So that was my question: is just how many of these guys are above average league starters, and if they get a bunch of these guys to be more than league average, then I think they're in a pretty good, healthy, deep place, even if they don't have a star at any of these 3 positions. So remember, says Gavis, remember, coaching plays a big role in all of this. The teams that have gone from worst to first usually involve a coaching change in a new system, which this team has gone through. Okay, what's next for you, PK? Sinkers, beverages?
I mean, we're pretty far into this, so we got to get to Cam. And for me, the Cam thing is the decision making, and ties right into what Gavis just said there, the scheme. So he's going to react to things that happen more than he's going to read, if that makes sense. I hope it does. There's option routes. They're looking at the same thing. You're shaking your head. We came up with the exact same list.
Well,
we came up with the exact same.
Okay, do you want me to know what my title? Yeah. My question was the verbiage was because I was trying to encapsulate the entire Cam Ward conversation into a question. What am I trying to figure out about Cam Ward? Does the game slow down for Cam Ward? Is sort of how I'm framing it.
Same thing,
which is what you're talking about. Like, do you just react? Do you just play ball? Are you just inside the system? Are you just in that like mental flow state, as these hippies will tell you? Like, is that what he's doing? Or is he still fighting it? Is he still fighting the pass rush, fighting the pocket presence, fighting the footwork? Is he still fighting the reads? Like, is he still fighting it? Or is it, I'm just in the flow now? And I think it sounds very weird to describe it that way, but that's how.
No, I think you're right. Like more of the moment, in the moment. And I don't think Callahan's stuff was good for him. And that was a major kind of miss, maybe the heart of the mismatch between the two of them. And so now we'll see, and that stuff takes time. So they've worked through a lot of it, and they've told us that was a lot of the reason that he didn't necessarily look good every day during the spring. That needs to become less frequent during camp, hopefully during the series that he runs in those joint practices and in preseason games, which Saleh said, he reserved the right to change his mind, but intends to play everybody every game. And I think that's really the biggest key to the whole season. That he's got a comfort level and doesn't get discombobulated, doesn't get out of sorts, and that they're not ass.
What's really crazy is I think you've used this phrase before, like you know it when you see it with a quarterback in terms of being comfortable. And I actually think again, trying to articulate what this whole conversation around Cam really does come down to, because we get into the details of everything, right? Like whether it's accuracy or footwork or sidearm slot or whatever, but it's like, are you playing the game or is the game playing you? And that is really when the game is too fast for a quarterback, it's obvious, and that game is playing you. And when the game starts to slow down and you're in the flow of it and you're playing the game, I think we all look at quarterbacks in the NFL on a Sunday and we can pick out those guys and be like, oh, that guy's the one who, yeah, sure, he made a bad throw there, or he missed that, or he threw an interception, but like he knows what he's doing. He knows where he's going. He knows what the defense is doing, and he's comfortable trying to make the right play. And that's, again, it's kind of a weird way to describe it, but it is just sort of like, it when you see it. And it reminds me of like, are you, and I think you said it perfectly, like, are you reacting or are you dictating to some degree? And it doesn't mean that dictating always is right. It just means you are in a position to be confident and comfortable with what's going on around you, and you kind of feel it all. And I think he's got a lot of that stuff. It's not like the game's actually too fast for him, but I don't know. That's kind of how I'm trying to describe the entire Cam Ward conversation.
Saleh and Dable haven't used this language that I can remember, but a lot of coaches talk about there being no wrong answer. Like there's a right answer on every play. There's a right thing. They haven't used that terminology, but you'd like to feel that way about him. Like, oh, he basically feels like there's a solution to everything for his play. Yeah. And once in a while there's not, and he eats it or throws it away or tries to make something of it, takes a shot that his guy can catch or nobody can catch or stuff like that. You'd like more of a feeling of that with him more often.
Vandy Chris says, I'm going to read both of his comments here. He says, the most important question is, what if Will Levis is better than Cam Ward? And then he follows it up with, and in no way am I saying is Levis better, but it's a huge question.
It's not a huge question.
Yeah, I think you're asking the wrong question, Vandy. Is Will Levis better than Mitch Trubisky is the question, because Levis is a distant third on the depth chart, in my opinion. Mitch Trubisky is a infinitely better starting NFL quarterback, in my opinion, at running an offense, especially a Brian Daboll offense, which he has a lot of experience doing. I think it's more like, if you are concerned about Cam and you want to ask a incendiary question about Cam Ward, there could be a period of time, unfortunately, in the season, if things go really haywire, where fans might be asking if Mitch Trubisky is as good as Cam Ward. But Will Levis is not in that conversation. And that question would only come if every possible thing we've been talking about today has gone wrong.
And you don't have any idea how far 3 is from 1. He's playing with 3s against 3s. Yeah. And the difference between that and playing with 1s against 1s is miles apart. And so you're going to say, oh, we'll let him play with the 1s. Well, the 1s play against 1s. Yeah. And we've seen Will Levis play against 1s, and it's not good. It's not a good result. And so you say, well, he had terrible circumstances. Well, Cam Ward hadn't had great circumstances either.
Cam Ward's circumstances
last year. Invested in now is Cam Ward. It's Cam Ward's turn.
His circumstances last year were as bad as you could ask for a rookie quarterback. 2 coaches, 2 play callers, a fired coach, number 1 receiver who gets injured, no other number 2s or 3s on the roster, offensive line that can't protect him. Like, it was as bad as it could have gotten. I mean, honestly,
Cam Ward's turn. They've given the reins to Cam Ward. Get that in your head.
I've got a couple other ones here. I don't know if you have any more, if you want to throw out there. This one's a little off the beaten path for me, but I'm curious what you have to say about this. Because I really believe in Bones Fossil as a coach. I think you do too. Just in general, I think he's a good coach who's going to have a good unit. And the question is can this Titans team actually have a top 5-ish special teams unit as a whole? And here's why I say that. So 2nd in punt return yardage last year. So one of the best, obviously, DK in all pro season. That's where you start, right? He flips the field, which gave them their average starting position last year was their own 31-yard line, which was 11th in the NFL. So almost top 10 in that situation. Their kick return yardage coverage was 7th in the NFL. Their punt return yards against was 2nd in the NFL. Their touchback percentage on punts, or on kickoffs, was top 10 in the NFL. Their punt return coverage was 13th in the NFL. There are still plenty of areas of weakness. They were 26th in field goal kicking and accuracy. That's a really bad number. They were 17th in kick return. Okay. They were 20th in average punting last season. So they're still...
They replaced their punter.
And they replaced their punter. So there's definitely a couple of areas where they are not even top 10, but there's a lot of areas, if you look at all the different parts of special teams, I think which is your return game and your average starting position on both sides, your coverage game and your punting and your kicking. There's a chance that they have a top 10 special teams unit relatively easily. And the question is can it get even better than that? Can it be a top 5 unit where you have, when it comes to the third phase, I don't subscribe to the 1/3, 1/3, 1/3 thing. It's more like a 40-40-20 at best. In terms of success on the field. But if you have a top 5 special teams unit, you can win a couple of extra games in a season. Easy with a top 5 special teams unit. And there's a chance that they could be a top 10 unit pretty easily. So the question is, how good can they be? I really like the special teams unit in theory.
They could be very good. I think the bottom half, the bottom 20, say, on their roster, it should be substantially better. You know, a lot of this building that they've done, you can only do so much top down, and then the rest of it is bottom up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the bottom up building has been significant. Those are guys that can help Bones Fossil in coverage and in those jobs. Joey Sly, you know, had some questionable moments. You got to kick consistently to qualify, you know, not just statistically, but in clutch moments and in non-miss opportunities. So that's something I'd keep an eye on. Tommy Townsend over Johnny Hecker should be better. And I'm glad they didn't stay loyal there. So we'll see what he can do. Yeah. But I do think I would expect a game in special teams with now don't know and haven't looked. This is a good piece, a good idea. I'll write this down to see where Salah's special teams units have been. And, you know, I'm certain that he'll give Fossil a lot of freedom, but how much has he emphasized it? Did he emphasize it with the Jets?
Again, I would say that they already have a top 5 return game. I think that's fair. Right now, they have a top 10 coverage game. They're 7th in kick return coverage and 13th in punt return coverage. I expect as the bottom half of the roster gets better for that to improve. So I think their return game and their coverage game is already top 5 and top 10. Their field goal kicking, I think, is their biggest. That is the biggest area of concern. Again, they were 26th last year in the NFL. They only made 80% of their field goals last year. That was down in the bottom third. That's got to be
in today's NFL. That's not a good number.
Yeah, and then they were 20th in average punting. So like those are 2 big ones. You got to be accurate on field goal kicking, extra points, and you got to be able to pin the other team deep. But right now, great in returns, great in coverage. They're one of 9 teams that blocked a punt last year. So there's just not many teams that got a chance to do that. And I will say, and from a kickoff perspective, last year they were putting the ball in the end zone. They were top 10 in the NFL in that. So there's a chance that they could be 7th or 8th in the NFL in special teams overall. And I think that the question is how good can they be? So that one just sticks to me because DK is such a dynamic weapon in that game. And I trust Fossil. Like it's more about trusting the coach, improving the roster, and already having some key weapons on the team, improving the punter. So if Sly's better, then maybe they're good. All right, I got a couple more quick ones here we can throw out, which is number one's like just what's the linebacker rotation look like? And that's also tied to formation, right? If they're running a 4-1-6, if they're running a dime, if they're running a 4-2-5, do they ever bring a third linebacker on? Is it Barton and Gray and Hill? Is it just Barton? Is it just Gray? Is Hill in on certain? I just want to know.
I think it's a matter of time before Hill takes over for Barton, and I think. The biggest question there is what kind of communicator can Gray be? It didn't go great last year where they asked him to be the primary communicator. Now he's a year older. He's talked about wanting to be a complete player and play complete games. He really seems like a guy with a lot of upside who gets it and is going to be better. And it just seems hard to believe that the one thing that could keep Anthony Hill off the field, if he's there, if he's ready, and if he's better than Barton, is that Cedric Gray can't communicate as well as Cody Barton. So that's a storyline we're going to be following.
It's fascinating that if you put them all together, they form one really great linebacker.
Yeah,
you got the athleticism of Hill, the run stopping of Gray, and the communication and wisdom and experience of Barton. If you put them all together, you got a great player. So we'll see. Yeah. That's kind of.
I think if you went on most rosters in the league that don't have, you know, one of the 4 great off the ball linebackers in the league, you'd probably find that's the case.
That's probably true. And it's also why it's kind of down. I like those 3 guys, and I think they'll figure it out. But that one's kind of down my list. The other one is, and I think we have a general sense of who's behind Cordell Flott and Alontae Taylor. But like what emerges behind those 2 guys is, I think, a really important question. Just again, we kind of know, you know, a couple of the names, Robinson, Williams, whatever, but like, what does it actually look like? Who do they trust in those situations behind Flott and Taylor? You have to imagine that they're going to miss some time with injury. It's just what happens when you play corner. So I don't know. But again, that's another one that is kind of down the list for me, but is another one that I want to see.
I think that there will be an experienced guy added to that group at some point.
It's pretty inexperienced behind those 2.
I mean, probably, you know, end of camp. waiver wire time, and that they can do better than they did with Armour Davis, say.
Yeah, that's fair. Sinkers Beverages, everybody, make sure you check out the link in the show notes for tickets to the event coming up in August. You got the press forward survey there. Please fill that out. Takes less than 5 minutes. It's totally anonymous. PaulKuharsky.com is the website. All the other great shows across the Full 40 Sports Network. Shout out to Steve Cavendish, Ben Wright, for hosting Club and Country with me during the World Cup. They've done a really great job covering World Cup soccer. We'll have another episode for you coming up on Thursday after immediate availability with BJ Callahan. Nashville SC back on the pitch on Friday night, and then the World Cup final on Sunday. So we got your soccer, your football. This is a football show as well. So, yeah.
Got a column up about just how we are becoming numb to CTE and even ALS as news comes out from the NFL. And why I think we should form a resistance to that. Hope you'll check that out at paulkuharsky.com.
Yeah, I sometimes calluses are good and letting things go are good, and sometimes we're just too numb to some things. I agree with you on that. Good stuff there. paulkuharsky.com as well. And other than that, I think, look, we're a couple of weeks away. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stay tuned. Suss and I will be back, of course, later this week. The last question I have for you is, my picks for the World Cup are France and Argentina. That would be if I was betting, I would pick France and Argentina. I am rooting probably for Spain and England. Do you have a problem with the rematch? Just even though it was one of the best matches ever played, are you less excited about seeing Messi and Mbappe in France and Argentina, or are you okay with that?
I'll take whatever comes out of these games. I think it's been great. And, I think these two semis will be great. And so whatever comes out of it, but I'd like to see England. I'd really like to see England in the final. And I don't think it's inconceivable they beat Argentina. I think Argentina is.
They've been playing with fire the entire tournament. So,
yeah. But I think they're beatable. I'm not so sure about France. I think France may well be unbeatable.
I'm with you on that one. Like, Michael Olise might be the best player in the tournament, hadn't scored a goal.
Yeah.
So is there a player, first of all, are you over the loss? Like, have you gotten over it yet, or is it going to take 3.5 years like it will for me?
I'm really not. I'm
not either. Pretty pissed still. Is there a player that you have that you discovered in this tournament that you didn't know about, that you're like, man, I'm going to watch him more now on a club level? Is there anybody that stands out to you that you just like?
Oh, I haven't done a good job of sifting that out, but I will after. And I certainly will pay attention to the transfer market now. I will say Balogun, our forward, the three teams I saw him connected to, one of which was Chelsea, and I don't want him on Chelsea. I don't think. I'm not positive he's a Premier League striker, and I'm positive he's not a Chelsea solution at striker. I think he's a good player.
He's very good at he's very good at Monaco.
I think Chelsea needs somebody better than he is in terms of consistently finishing.
I did see Freeman getting some love too on the EPL transfer market, and I'm like, if these guys are all EPL players, and somebody didn't do their job,
yeah,
for the USA. There are rumors that Pulisic could come back to MLS pretty quickly here, and I don't know how much right now might be a little too soon for American fans.
I'd like to see him finish strongly in Europe before he did that. He's really taken a beating, and some of it deserved. So stay over there and prove yourself. This was a poor season for him at Milan, and the year before was very good. So go have another very good year over there. And I know you get attention over there, but if you come over here, you're going to get more attention than you want. He doesn't want attention from America.
It's very like the rumors about how his staff handles him or whatever is very odd. It's very odd. And he put out that, I don't know if you watched the Pulisic documentary on, I think it was Paramount Plus, like came out like last summer.
Yeah.
We watched it all because I was like, oh, this is clearly being put out to hype up the year of growth into the World Cup and everything. And it was right after his really great year at Milan, and he had final edit on the whole thing.
Yeah, well, all of these things now do less and less good stuff. Here's the one thing.
It's not a documentary at that point.
Yeah. Here's the one thing. I think Landon Donovan's criticisms of him have been largely fair, but he's the wrong conduit to offer those criticisms based on the thing. He did a lot of similar things, and he seems very not self-aware that the critic is
Well,
guilty of many of the things he's being critical of.
He said those exact words though in that long conversation where it got clipped and spread around. Even in the clip, he was saying, like, I made all of these mistakes. It was a dark time in my life. I learned from those mistakes and I got better because of it. So
still, it's better coming from Dempsey.
That's true. No, that's true.
Better coming from Howard. It's better coming from Carly Lloyd, who is very good.
100%.
Very good on this.
As long as it's not
Dempsey
coming from
looks hypocritical, no matter what kind of preface he puts on it.
As long as it's not coming from Unc Lawless.
Yeah, well, you notice I didn't even mention.
Yeah, as long as it's not come from him, yeah, that dude is jump. He's run his course. He's run his match. Thoughts on Holland getting subbed out in the last? He didn't play. I don't think he played any of the second 15 minutes.
No, he was out at the halftime of the overtime.
Very strange. Very strange.
My wife was watching it and she said, "It's got to be awfully tiring carrying around that big body for that long."
And
that's kind of how he looked.
And the rest of the Norwegian offense as well. All right, man. Enjoy the matches. They're going to be great. Nick and I will be back later this week. PaulKuharsky.com, Press Forward Survey, Sinkers Beverages, all the other great shows from the network. We do appreciate all you guys for hanging out. For Paul, I'm Braden. Thanks, man. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Cheers.